Alright, hello everybody. So I'm going to make this behind the scenes for everyone to kind of see how the process works after all the photos are done. So right here I have Adobe Lightroom open, and I noticed there's some ghosting from where I had passed in front of the camera between the camera and the light. So typically I go in, and the first things first is I start checking on all the balances, light, and then trying to fix any kind of mistakes like this out. And you'll have to excuse me, I've never commentated on a video before. This is my first attempt, so it's probably going to be a little rough. And I did speed some of the portions that are a little more tedious, like when I create my pathway for masking. So I know it's a section over here that on the edge here, just taking care of the last one. For the most part, looks good. So. Before I start any project, and since this is the this year's rod run, I set up a file just for this year's rod run, and then I put new folders for each car, each project in, and name it appropriately. This one's C10. So here I'm, each one image that catches my eye, and I look through, try to match up. The whole overall vision yet hasn't really hit. So all the images I have, I just go through, make sure they're on a level that that will work and kind of match up. One's not overly bright than the other. And here, this is how I get my specular highlights. So basically I I drop down the highlights, and then also the shadows, increase those. So it's very contrasted, and then I use just the light portions of it. So as you can see here, just the reflection off the windshield is what I'm wanting. So I set it for that. Had a bit of an issue with this one when it was zoomed out. I kept zooming in. So when you get lines, like shirts, fabric, say a grill, when you're zoomed out, you get what's called moire, amore, and it's just a byproduct of digital images. They tend to make a pattern, or in this instance, a color in the grill. Kept showing off a pink hue, but you zoomed in and it wasn't there. So here's the background, or the purple light. I was trying to get off the in the background, but it was just a little too. Wasn't a little too pink. I want a little more purple, so I'm trying to adjust my temperature and tint to try to get a little more blue, but And then each one, once I'm satisfied with it, I flag. And then take 3 different levels of the headlights. I like the bright one. The brightest one's the best, but I do like a little bit of the old incandescent halogen, the glass, the Fresnels. I like to have those show out in the photo. I don't like them totally blown out. I hope the blinds aren't bothering too many people. I hope it's not overly distracting when I get back to it. So yeah, this is the halo portion of it. I do like how it showed on the wheels or the rims. So this one I overexpose on purpose. I always try and take one that I can use to overexpose, because you'll see here in the next little segment. As I draw or create the masking path. So I have all the photos from Lightroom that I'm satisfied with. All the levels match up. So these are going to be all the images for the final image. It's a little redundant, I apologize. So we'll get into Photoshop here now, and you'll see I've sped it up quite a bit. This is the most tedious part, and takes the longest time. So, all right, I find the file. This is the base image. So then I start just initial points for the pen tool. Let's go around the mirror, up the A-pillar. So I always go to the inside ever so slightly, because when you create the mask, you have the ability to feather your edges so it doesn't look so cut out. I made a mistake there, and I don't catch it until later. So here, each point, each anchor point you set, you have the ability to control the line with these handles, and each point you have to set a handle to, so it's a little finicky, but you get really good control over your curves. And again, this is the most tedious portion of it. I don't know, it's a necessary kind of evil, because it gives you a lot more control, or freedom, I should say. Makes things a lot more faster down the line. Instead of having to try and hand paint pixels out, this allows you a little more breathing room when you set up masks. So I come along the bumper here, and this is where I suddenly realized that I cut out the tire and a portion of the undercarriage there, and just went straight along the bumper. So had to go back and add some more anchor points. So there we have the full cutout line, and now I have my path. And that's it's been a while since I've done a car one. I kind of forgot how to set up my paths and what layer I should set them to. So you can watch me struggle here a bit with figuring out the mask layer. Probably should have cut this out. There's a lot of this stuff I should have probably cut out. It's 45 minutes at this point. And I will stop talking at a certain point and just let the video kind of go for itself once I start building. It's basically just going to get to the point where you see me setting things up, and as the image builds, and then eventually I see, as it starts forming, where I want the image to go. And that's the edge feathering. And right here, I'm not the best at it. I'm trying to get better, form good habits, but setting up folders for your layers so you don't get lost in the layers. And I should name each one of my layers, but this one wasn't overly complicated. The background was not a huge issue. I'm going to incorporate the sky element and the a bit of the profile from the telephone poles and the houses in the background. And that's the background. I want the sky and the parking lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the colored parking lot light, backlight, or just my traditional halo on the ground. And so my initial base image, the foundation that I build off of, is typically going to be the darkest image, and then I always put in a layer on the bottom of just filled in black. So makes it easier when I'm removing elements of the photos. That's not distracting. I have a white circle that appears as I'm removing things. And so yeah, this is where I start to realize I've kind of screwed up the layer here, and it's not working properly like it normally should. I am so confused. Still trying to figure it out here. I'm like, something's amiss, and I can't put my finger on it. And it's I had set the layer mask to basically just a solid background, and it wasn't part of the truck, and so it was cutting out the portion that I needed to show, and it kept the background, and that's typically the complete opposite of what I go for. The effect I'm trying to do is you cut a mask out, and everything you add into it is just of the truck and not the background, so you don't have to delete anything. And so I had to go back, and I think I screwed up a second time too, because I kept putting it on that background element and not the truck. So here I'm like, haha, I got it. When in fact I don't got it. Slowly trying to figure it out. Wait a minute. So and I know I could have condensed this down, here, now that I'm actually commentating on it. This is taking quite a bit of effort to try and keep rolling here. if I do any future videos or anything, I will probably definitely take a little more time and streamline the video. Also, I've forgotten to do my layer blends. There we go. And that whole time, it should have, that solid black background should have been on the bottom, and I didn't see it and put a mask on it instead. I realized again, I had created a different mask. I needed the one I originally had just on a different layer, so here we go again. Let's create another mask. So there, that's what I'm going for. Truck's cut out, and any background or any other element I put below it, the truck will fit. And it won't be out of place or off-placed one way or the other. But again, at this point I haven't realized I forgot my blending, my layer blending options. So they're not stacking properly. You can't see the layer below it. So, but once I start adding more layers to it, then I realize that I forgot to set my blending option, and then the photo will start building. So here I'm isolating the truck from the background. And I wanted to see what putting this backlight, this purple backlight in, would inspire anything. And initially it was pretty cool looking, but later on it was a bit too harsh, and I couldn't really use it with other elements lighting wise. And so I think towards the end it felt better, or it looked better, just to kind of have a traditional, especially for a black truck with such clean lines. You don't want to overdo it too much. And you'll even see me removing some specular highlights, just because you get too many. Human eye is pretty good at perceiving angles, even though subconsciously. And you put too many reflections on there, I found it becomes distracting and almost a little vulgar, for lack of a better term. There's just too much for the eye to try to take in, and it's more confusing. It creates an anxious photo. And so here I'm trying to incorporate the reflections, and again I realized I think right here, this preview screen I'm trying to commentate on is fairly small, so I can't read any of the writing, but and this is, yeah, right there. I was like, oh, my layer blends. Duh. And you'll see each. So I set the blending to a lighten. So any level of light that is above or below the layer above or below it will basically be brought out to the top. So I don't have to go through and painstakingly remove you know, something in front of the other layers by hand, which I've done in the past when it just necessitated it and I was not that smart. Photoshop is an amazingly powerful piece of software, and I used it back in high school for basically drawing comics and a few photo stuff, but even present day, with all the knowledge that I have currently for editing these photos, is a drop in the bucket in the whole grand scheme of what this program is capable of allowing you to do. And unfortunately, it's kind of a ball and chain. I haven't really found any other software free or just a single time payment to use, and so far I'm the interface, I'm so ingrained into it that it's really difficult to try and relearn a whole new, you know, old dog new trick layout and photo editing software. So here I'm cleaning up the specular highlights. So this is something me and my assistant, my cousin at the time, we went over before the event, that I told him that to make things easier on my end, we have to watch how close the light gets to the vehicles, because the light throws off a bit of a bloom when it's facing the camera, and it's just a kind of a light fog. It's to do with a bit of the atmosphere, but mainly how the sensor picks up light. So it always has this weird glow, this outer glow, that I have to clean up in post. And you have to watch how close the light gets. Starbursts or lens flares tend to overlap the photo. As you can see in the upper right there, you get a bit of starburst. So the slower I move the light, the more those become pronounced. And again, I can control a lot here in Lightroom and Photoshop, but it's always something you're not particularly super aware of until you get it into the programs. And so I'm going back into Lightroom to edit. What one was I grabbing? So. Oh, I was going to do the sky because I realized I had forgotten the sky. So, at this point, as I'm editing, I'm still in the mindset that I'm going to try and use that purple backlight. So here I'm editing the sky in hopes that I can get it to kind of match and maybe throw look a little more for the backlight and the sky to basically work together. Because whenever you incorporate background elements, that's why I like traditionally for these rod run shoots to kind of keep the photos dark and simple, just because you have to. I don't have a lot of time for these shoots, and I always get distracted, and I want to talk to you folks out there about the cars, but I also have work to do. So the simpler I can keep it out there, because I'm always forgetting gear and leaving things out, and the more automated I can make it for myself, or muscle memory, so to speak, the better for, all involved. But yeah, incorporating a background, you have to be mindful a lot more on where your lights are and what you're doing. You have to be really focused on the final image in your head. So, and here, yeah, I'm trying to get everything to line up. So this is a really rough erase job here. You can see that bit of that soft edge there on the upper portion of that roof, the second story of the house. Even now, I'm not liking the color line up to it. Not here while I'm recording this voice segment, but in the video. They just don't really match up. It's not... I can already kind of tell right now that I'm not super into it, and it's already starting to lean towards something like this. And you can see me turning different layers on and off just to kind of get an overall idea of how it feels and what it looks like. And also forgetting my layer blend options. So, yeah, still got a mountain of wedding photos to get through here, but I wanted to get at least one out there and for you folks to see kind of how this works in the back. And so 45 minutes, it's on the time mark, and I'm already at 30. And I don't know how much longer I could keep yammering on before I just kind of run out of stuff to talk. But here, all the elements are really starting to come in now, and the image is definitely starting to come into its own. I don't like those reflections on the roof and on the hood because they contradict the reflections that I've already put on there on the roof and on the hood. I may go back and actually put that one on the hood back in, just because it really wasn't interfering and it added a bit of shape to the hood, but the roof was a big no-no. But again, I'm not sure how many people I try to tell everyone, a little bit what got me into the photos and this style of light painting. And but basically, I try and create an image of these vehicles how I imagined my cars or Hot Wheels looked when I was a kid. And so I always try and incorporate one reflection on the windshield. It gives it dimension, gives it a shape. Sometimes not, it just depends. But I always find that a cartoony almost reflection just denotes glass and smooth. And I'll have to go in. I already see it now. Once I get to you get to the end of the video or whatever, I'm already done. But I can see I want to work on those windshield wipers and add a little more there. And so you'll see me kind of flicking layers on and off just to kind of see how it feels. But also, I'm looking for, pardon me, bits and pieces that I've forgotten to remove, like a car light in the background or a mailbox I forgot to remove. And but it's really dim and it's hard to kind of see. So I find turning off and on layers will allow me to, and it's like, oh, alright, cool, if there's a taillight or, something that I just happen to miss. Makes it a little easier to catch small things. So here I'm going through and just isolating layers helps if I need to add some more specular highlights, or if I like how the light's falling on the front end of the C10. So I'm pretty kind of happy with that. And now it's throwing a bit of a shadow on the halo on the ground, but I'm okay with that because it actually kind of looks like a double light artifact. When you have two light sources, you get a slight shadow in others, so I think I'm going to leave it. It doesn't look horrible, and it's not distracting, and it's a bit, lends a bit of organic feel to it. It's really hard to build these images and, anticipate what somebody's going to like and what they're not going to like, and what, especially making this behind the scenes video is, you know, it's kind of pulling back the curtain, you know. So the video is, in fact, 30 minutes and now 45. So I had to go back and add this little tail end, a stinger, if you will. Anywho, that's pretty much the basic process. Thank you all very much again for coming out. I hope you all gained a little bit of insight into this whole thing. I hope you all have a great day, and I got wedding photos to get to, and I will start on the cars when I get to it. Take care, everyone. Bye.